You know me, I typically play nonsense. Greetings, everyone. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad that you are here. Today's nonsense, well, honestly, it's not nonsense. We're going to be playing some Magic the Gathering Arena, as always, but, you know, this will actually be a first for this channel. We have never a single time featured mono red aggro in its purest form on the channel, but we're going to do that today. Why? Well, because I've had two separate people ask for more competitive content, and then that led to me posting, a ladder deck for last season a couple of weeks ago, and people were asking, hey, you know, what would you ladder for now that it's a brand new season here? And I thought, well, shoot, you know, I can do this. You know, we can play a few games with mono red and appease some of those more competitive players as well. Fear not, this is not a harbinger of me abandoning fun for competition all the time, but just trying to help out those folks who are trying to climb the ladder and giving them more options to do so. Folks, this is kind of level one. This is the base level. I want to do something on the ladder. I present to you mono red in Explorer. It's a very, very powerful deck. What is the core? Well, it's actually quite simple. Aggressive creatures down here at the bottom, getting on the board early, and you know, a little bit of removal. There's Bonecrusher Giant for removal, Lightning Strike for removal, Play with Fire for removal. You know, just ways to clear the board or clear the way for your littler creatures to get in. And then at the top end, there is this wild and crazy 2-card combo that has redundancy. Anax, Hardened in the Forge. Devotion equal to red. Whenever it or another non-token creature you control dies, create a 1/1 satyr creature with this creature can't block. If a creature had power 4 or greater, create 2 of those, or create 2 tokens instead. Then there's Torbran. If a red source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player an opponent controls, it deals that much plus 2. So, you know, your stuff essentially just deals 2 more damage. And then Embercleave, equipped creature gets +1/+1, has double strike and trample, and it has flash, this equipment does, and it gets cheaper for each attacking creature you control. So the deal is, it's any 2 of these is kind of a combo. You have Anax and Torbran, and your Anax is not just dealing a lot of damage, but it's leaving behind all these satyr creatures, and of course all your creatures down here dying leaves behind satyrs that deal 2 additional damage. Obscene. Very powerful, right? Or Torbran and Embercleave is just, you know, Embercleave, you know, whatever Torbran is doing over here is awesome, but then Embercleave comes down and all your stuff's dealing way more damage, and the Embercleave just you know, kills things. Anax is power equal to your devotion to red, so even if it's the only thing on the battlefield with an Embercleave, it would be 1/2 pips, 1/2 more pips, right? Means that it is now a 4-power creature. Embercleave attaches to it, making it a 5-power double striking trampling creature. It's just obscenely powerful, right? So they all kind of combo together. Why more Anax instead of more Torbran or Embercleave? Great question. First of all, because it's less expensive. We want to be running as few lands as possible to as great an effect as possible. But making it cheaper is good. In addition to that, removing, if this card just dies, no big deal. No big deal. You get several satyrs when it dies. It's almost always power 4 or greater, right? On top of that, it's board sweeper protection. So Anax comes down before most board sweepers happen. If your opponent was on the play, they typically have to wait until turn 4, which means you get to play Anax on 3 without fear. If they sweep the board, okay, you get a bunch of 1/1s. They kill all your stuff, and you know, you're never happy about it when you're an aggressive deck that gets your board swept. But it's fine because you have Anax. And then similarly, you are hoping to follow up the next turn with either a Torbran or Embercleave. Torbran, in this case, if you had like 4 1/1s, they're now dealing 3 damage. So it's essentially like having 4 3/1s, which would actually be a significant board, right? So not a big deal. As far as the lands go, we are actually running a lot of lands for a traditional mono red deck. We're actually at 25 because we need to make sure we get up to our haymaking combo very quickly. But we also have the luxury of running Sokenzan, which gives us hasty spirits. Kind of nice. Also have Den of the Bugbears, and activating these is a great way to win a lot of games when your opponent has maybe swept your board, or maybe swept your board more than once. A lot of the time, not removal will say things like non-land and all that kind of thing. Well, all right, Den of the Bugbear just gets there. And similarly, Ramunap Ruins is just a land, and it deals damage. So we get to run kind of a 16 land deck, which is very few, even for mono red, but have these 9 spell lands that just really, really can be used to great effect. So without further ado, you've all likely seen mono red before. Let's see it in action, shall we? All right, folks, you're up against Rans. Good luck, Rans. And yeah, I mean, this hand looks good. One of the strengths of the mono red deck is almost every single land hand you pick up is going to be, it's going to look good. That's one of the strengths of this deck, is so many of the cards are very interchangeable. We have things happening down here at the bottom, and some lands and a little bit of removal. It's all stuff, and all that stuff is good. So we're just gonna go ahead, Bonecrusher Giant on the creature, pass the turn, see what our opponent has to say. It's another black land. 5 cards remain in hand. Definitely interesting sleeves there. Very, very cool looking. They go with Fable of the Mirror Breaker. You got it. All right, well, these things are interesting. Kumano faces Kakkazan, flips over. All right. Actually, we were supposed to go with Kari Zev last turn, weren't we? I think that was a better line. One of those I haven't played enough with the deck yet things, I think. Okay. I don't want to give them a free block. I think we're going to cast this, but we're going to cast it post-combat. I think that's better than the card, because we expect them to block. Though admittedly, Robber of the Rich coming down there next turn would give us the opportunity to look at another card. So there is that. Experimental Synthesizer for our opponent. Exile's top card. It's a Cauldron Familiar. Remember, folks, the Cauldron Familiar and Explorer can still block. All right, we get drained. Opponent gaining a little life here. Problematic, because the opponent gaining any amount of life is really annoying. We are going to go ahead and Torbran and get in, because this makes our opponent's life difficult indeed. They're going to take damage here, They in fact do. Cauldron Familiar going away, and it gets exiled because Etchings of Kumano is a heck of a magic card, folks. The flip side does exiling things. Rans goes with a Blightstep Pathway and another Blood Tithe Harvester. This one will be able to get rid of our Torbran. We would like some kind of shock effect, whether it's, well, darn it. I guess we are going to Robber of the Rich here. And go to combat. Just everybody do the thing. Yep. Exiles a Sokenzan from the top. You have got it. Opponent. Blocks. Does not want to give up the Blood Tithe Harvester yet. Makes sense to me. So I guess we're just going to go with Bonecrusher Giant here. So that if they sacrifice the Blood Tithe Harvester to kill Torbran, which they likely have to do in order to live, we're still hitting them very hard with Bonecrusher Giant. Admittedly, it's almost as hard with Kari Zev, so it is possible we were supposed to go with Kari Zev just in case we draw another Torbran off the top. The reason I did not is Kari Zev does not wear an Embercleave as well. So if we pull Embercleave off the top, if we pull Torbran off the top, we're still happy. It is going to hit really hard. Whoa, Inconvenient Mayhem Devil is a beating here. Yep. That's really unfortunate. Mayhem Devil going to kill off our Fervent Champion. All right. Hey, all right. Well, fine. Yeah, specifically Torbran, we would have been happier with Kari Zev, but this is lethal. Our opponent has to block. I was going to say they likely do want to trade. No, just chump. They're like, we need to have a chance at victory here. And so they're likely going to be sacrificing all these things, maybe to kill Torbran, perhaps, is what the plan is here. The problem is we also have this Ramunap Ruins just hanging out, ready to finish off the last couple of points of damage. And sure enough, Ron's scooping it up, despite, honestly, a few piloting errors for myself. You know, again, folks, you know me, I typically play nonsense. I don't play a lot of mono red specifically. So some of the play patterns, there was likely an optimization or two to be done there. But darn it, you know, one of those things, you play good enough cards, sometimes they make up for mistakes you make. So GG, opponent, GG. All right, folks, we are up against Taka. Good luck, Taka. And I mean, you know, we have an aggressive draw on the play, which is, of course, where Mono Red wants to be every game. If I'm pretty sure Mono Red would be willing to mulligan for in order to be allowed to be on the play. Like, they would be like, okay, doesn't even matter. I will take a mulligan for you. No matter what my 7-card hand is, I'll start on 6. If you will let me be on the play, they would make that trade every day. Right, sort of thing. Cards are so good, but being on the play is so powerful. Opponent goes with Supreme Phantom. Not strictly thrilled about that. Does make the Mausoleum Wanderer into quite a threat. All right, so let's go like this, I suppose. See if we get anything of use there. We do not. Opponent blocks. Unsurprisingly. We thought if we left mana open, it was possible they might not. You know? That was untrue. But, of course, we're going to plan on drawing a land next turn. And being able to slam Torbran. That would be a good one. Opponent has Fleeting Spirit. Comes down as a 4/2. And their board is starting to look pretty darn good, folks. We need that land. Hey, it's mono red. It knows. It knows. Torbran shows up with a 1/1 counter, I might add. Very strong. Yep. And we're just gonna go ahead, turn our creature sideways. Gonna exile more things. Ooh, Staggering Insight. That would help in the race if it comes to that. Opponent going to trade Fleeting Spirit and something, I have to imagine, because this is 8, 9, 10, 11. I seriously doubt you want to go to 2 against Mono Red. Like, that seems, yeah. Seems like not a very great line. I'm sure they're thinking to themselves, are we supposed to block with the Supreme Phantom as well? Okay. They do discard a Spell Pierce. We're actually pretty okay with that. Because the Spell Pierce would kind of get our Embercleave there. Fateful Absence? No! Darn it. You're not supposed to have removal. You're the Spirit deck. Darn it. That's all right. They did discard a Spell Pierce. That could mean they have another one. And that would be inconvenient. Okay. That is not the case. Opponent going to get in for 2 more. Yep. Well. Saga exiles and returns. Okay. So we're going to draw. It's Kari Zev, huh? That would have been nice. But alas, it is what it is. Opponent trying to decide how to go about things. Elects to go with Supreme Phantom blocks on Fervent Champion. Fleeting Spirit on Robber of the Rich. And Watcher of the Spheres on the Etchings of Kumano. So, folks, we could, you know, kill things and all that kind of stuff, but that's not really the spirit of Mono Red. The spirit of Mono Red is make the opponent dead. And we can do that by putting it on Burning-Tree Emissary. So GG Taka, GG. All right, folks, we are up against Cynical Revolution. Good luck, Cynical Revolution. And I think, yeah, this hand is fine. Our opponent goes to the Plains and a Speaker of Heavens to join the party. All right. I don't think the life gain matchup is traditionally our best, and we're on the draw, which, you know, Mono Red's win percentage on the draw is typically much worse, but, you know, we are not strictly dead by any means. So Kumano faces Kakkazan, going to enable us to get a counter onto whatever creature we play. We wanted to be able to get the Robber of the Rich attacking here, so it was possible we were supposed to go with the Burning-Tree Emissary into Robber of the Rich, but, you know, is what it is. March of Otherworldly Light from our opponent gets in, goes up another life. Fair enough. Kumano faces Kakkazan, going to flip over. So I guess we're just going to Robber of the Rich and attack with both of these creatures. Opponent going to take the easy block and not the other one. Drop to 14, pass the turn. Folks, we don't have any of our combo pieces. We need Anaxes, Torbrans, and Embercleaves. That's the way that works. It's very important that we get them. Opponent holding back on all of the important things. Inconvenient. Well, Robber of the Rich. Join the party. Get in. Opponent. Blocks. Blocks. Takes 2. Drops to 13. We will. Burning-Tree Emissary. Bonecrusher Giant. Pass the turn. Cynical Revolution. On roughly 3 cards in hand and a million pieces of action, goes with Resplendent Angel to grow the Youthful Valkyrie. Inconvenient. Inconvenient indeed. If they have another land, the Resplendent Angel gets lifelink and we lose on the spot. But we also can't really attack here. We don't even get a card. Ajani, Strength of Pride. No. Okay. Yeah, they gain 5 life here. Brutal. Oh, wow. Yeah. We don't get any of our Torbrans. We don't get any of our Embercleaves. We're against the life gain deck. We're going to concede. GG, Cynical Revolution, GG. All right, folks, here we are up against Gods of Light. Good luck, Gods of Light. And yeah, I think we're going to keep this. Going to start on Kumano faces Kakkazan. The sooner we get it to flip, the better. Join the party. Opponent going to take 1, down to 19. Feels good, man. They go with Dusk Legion Zealot to pay another life. Don't mind if you do. Kumano faces Kakkazan, going to give a counter to something. Yeah, I think it's going to be Kari Zev. The counter going on Kari Zev is quite nice here. We can't actually attack this turn, which is not ideal, but the Menace is very strong if our opponent goes with... Okay, I was about to say Sorin, but they have Murderous Rider instead. I am kind of surprised by that. A lot of Dusk Legion Zealot decks, not also Murderous Rider decks, you know? But that's okay, because we're going to go land, Fervent Champion, Burning-Tree Emissary, Robber of the Rich, and our opponent, having paid a good amount of life already themselves, Wishclaw Talisman, I'm surprised by that, find themselves at 11 life. Is Gods of Light playing Board Sweepers? We're about to find out. Swamp makes it to the battlefield. Kalidas, Traitor of Get, joins the party. All right, well, fine. Land. We're going to attack. Robber of the Rich gets Underworld Dreams. And the opponent, thinking about blocks, goes with blocking Fervent Champion. This was just about the best they could have hoped for, I think. And we are going to take the bait. But we're also just going to shock there. Drop our opponent down to 3. We don't want them gaining life. If they have a board sweeper, like maybe a Cry the Carnarium, something like that. Ritual of Soot, exactly. They could leave the Cletus and just make our life absolutely miserable. So I feel like this is the safest path. Just because if Cletus was still around gaining life, the game would end, right? So now our opponent needs to remove Bonecrusher Giant, but it can't be targeted removal. They have to... okay. I mean, we draw a land. So we're just going to do this. No combat required. All right. And God's Light scoops it up. Yeah. GG, God's Light. GG. All right, folks. We are up against Palmyra. Good luck, Palmyra. And yeah, I think this hand is fine. A little bit awkward. When your mono red deck does not have any 1-drops, you kind of question whether or not you put it together correctly, but I think this is fine. We go with a Burning-Tree Emissary on 2. We do at least get to shock our opponent's face with the stomp side of Bonecrusher Giant. I think that's fine. A little bit of a virtual attack there, you know? I don't know if that's strictly correct or not, but I think unless something changes, we'll probably Bonecrusher Giant next turn. Blood-Tithe Harvester shows up. Okay, yep. I think these things are fine. Sure. We'll attack. Opponent elects to take it. Unsurprisingly, we'll go with Bonecrusher Giant. Join the party. Palmyra on 16 life. Thinking about things. Probably Torbran next turn. I should say almost certainly Torbran next turn. Though Anax, always tempting. Being sweeper protection and everything, very, very strong. But, you know, there's a number of things that could go wrong. Okay. Opponent has Graveyard Trespasser. Yep. This is very much a Torbran turn. Yeah, still a Torbran turn. Tempting, folks, tempting. But their blocks are too good the other way. So we're going to attack our opponent. Whew, this is a lot of damage, right? They're essentially forced to block here. They take 4 more down to 12, and you never want to be at, you know, below 10 against the mono red deck. And our opponent is definitely flirting with that threshold as we speak. Chandra Torch Defiance comes down, going to kill our Torbran, certainly. They can't allow that to live. The question is whether or not they also get rid of Burning-Tree Emissary. We don't know, of course. Chandra takes care of Torbran and passes the turn. Remember, this can only be activated as a sorcery. Well, yep. I think these things are fine. We're going to do this because we're going to get rid of a Chandra. Our opponent can block the Blood or Fervent Champion for free. They certainly will. They in fact do. But we get an extra token, so we don't care too much about that. It does shrink our Anax ever so slightly, but it still remains at 4 power, which is the threshold we're looking for to get extra dudes. Torbran being able to slam next turn is definitely a good spot for us to be as well, because it puts our opponent in a bit of an awkward spot. I seriously doubt the Blood-Tithe Harvester are going to be using that its sacrifice ability this turn, but they might have some kind of removal spell yet for Anax. That is entirely possible. If that's true, then things get harder. If this Anax goes away and is unable to attack, you know, by other means, and then they're able to also remove our Torbran, things get challenging. As it is, yeah, this is fine. We would still, darn it, where were you last turn? Last turn, this would have been very nice. As it is, we're still looking for an Embercleave. That would be the ideal situation. Of course, we're going to attack like so. See if they have some kind of removal for Torbran. I seriously doubt it for just the 1 mana here. At least not before combat. They could get it post-combat and, you know, do something like Fatal Push. But of course, in order to kill Torbran, you would have to have a revolt trigger going on. All right, Anax, Hardened in the Forge. It is Fatal Push. All right. Joins. We are joined by a couple of these satyrs, up to 4 satyrs on board, which, you know, that's not a ton, folks. That is not, this is, they can't even block, right? But, you know, it is 4 creatures, and our opponent's not at a ton of life. We don't need to win more. You know, we don't need to have a 10-10 on board for this to count as a victory. We just need to find a way to close the last couple of points of damage. Now, admittedly, Sorin the Mirthless, having a lifelinking creature is tragic indeed. And of course, we're going to draw a land because that's the way that works, unfortunately. Shoot. Do we attack here, folks? We lose a satyr and they lose 1 life, essentially. You get rid of the Sorin, then they just gain 2 life. All right. We're going to pass this turn. Anything off the top, folks. Any one of our cards. The other Torbran would be great. An Anax would even be acceptable. An Embercleave is obviously the one we're looking for most, and we haven't seen any yet this game. We still have plenty in the deck. Obviously, we haven't seen any. But there's a whole bunch of other... Oh my gosh, Fable the Mirrorbreaker. Inconvenient. Opponent gets a land on top. Doesn't even have to pay mana for it. How lucky. All right. Opponent gets in for 2. Wow. That's an aggressive line. Going to 11. Yeah, well, this stinks. Gotta go after the Sorin now, I guess. And that's fine. They might just double block our Anax. Wouldn't be too surprised to see that. Okay. If this is the blocks, we're okay with this. I mean, we're not thrilled about it because we've got to spend our removal on the 2/3. We're going to do it now because we know 1 card in their hand is a land. If they have like Deadly Dispute or something to sacrifice and draw cards, that's unfortunate, but we don't want to give them another look at Deadly Dispute for it. It's also true if we allow them to untap the Reflection of Kikiji can make copy of it before it goes away, and they get to, you know, kind of live the dream there. Folks, we need our deck to come through for us. We have a million different cards that will do it. We just need to draw any of them. No, Kalidas. I think we're destined to lose this one, folks. I think we're destined to lose this one. 11 is just not enough. Opponent going to Thoughtseize, paying 2 life to see that we have a mountain. Pretty happy about that, honestly. Opponent? Gets in. Wow. Holy cow, folks. We're at that stage of the game. Our opponent understanding that unless we get Embercleave, which we did not, the game ends. And it does. So GG, Palmyra. GG. All right, folks, we are back. We are back. And darn it, we couldn't be happy to be here. We've had a whole bunch of really wild games with Mono Red here. Honestly, it was fun. There's something cathartic about just turning your creature sideways, and, you know, kind of almost playing the villain a little bit. You know, honestly, normally, mono red is the fun police. They always, you know, I'm always just trying to have a good time, and mono red swoops out of nowhere and cuffs me around the side of the head and just says, no, none of that nonsense here, you know. So it's kind of nice to be able to play the villain and do the thing. The deck did well. Am I surprised by that? Absolutely not. No, I would expect you to be able to maintain, even as a moderate to, you know, average player, something in the vicinity of 55-58% win rate. If you're a good player, probably in the 60 or more % win rate category with this deck. And what other changes might you make based on your own personal preferences? Well, if you're the type of, you know, player that really likes to see big splashy things, I could easily see you going for all 4 Torbran, all 4 Embercleaves, and just saying, no, I'm all in on the combo. You know, we're doing it and we're doing it right. The only issue with that is sometimes you do draw extras and they're legendary. And if you know, kill yourself in tempo just a little bit, then, you know, you will lose some percentage of those games. The counterpoint to that is, if these stay around, you're probably winning. You know, and almost every game, particularly in a build with 25 lands, we will get to 4 mana and we'll be just like, man, I really wish there was a Torbran or Embercleave in my hand right now. And we think that every single turn. So it's quite possible, yeah, you should just be on 4 of these. What else would you cut? Things like maybe Kari Zev or the Viashino Pyromancer could easily go. There are some builds that have 2 Kari Zev. It is quite strong, and I will point out that with things like Torbran, 2 separate bodies is quite nice, but I don't care for the fact that it's a legendary creature at 2 mana. You know, again, just that whole legendary creature thing really coming back to bite you occasionally. Viashino Pyromancer, similarly, it's 2 separate instances of damage, so it does work with Torbran. It is a creature, so it works with Anax and Embercleave. But, you know, I think there are other options that are good as well. It's just nice because there's reach. It is possible this this is just better as a lightning strike, perhaps. You know, use that as, or decide as you will on that. Similarly, maybe a play with fire. It's also possible we do just want more 1-drops. Some versions of the deck are a little more aggressive, have a few more 1-drops, and darn it, some of the hands where you get to start with, you know, 1-drop into Burning-Tree into whatever Robber of the Rich on the same turn. You know, that just feels so broken. You just feel like you can't lose there. As it is, your strongest draws are Fervent Champions, Kumano's faces Kakkazan into your 2-drops and stuff, so I don't think there's too much argument with this build either. That said, it has been a pleasure. I'm sure we'll be getting back to nonsense in the near future, but thank you folks for watching, and I will catch you all next time.